You have no right to be here. This is a restricted area. The shrill voice cuts through the bustling noise of Los Angeles International Airport like a knife. Heads turn, conversations halt, and a tense silence falls over the first-class lounge entrance. "Ma'am, I've already explained," a composed voice responds, only to be abruptly cut off. "I don't care what you've explained. You clearly don't belong here. I'm calling security right now." The scene unfolds like a powder keg ready to explode. On one side stands Karen Smith, a middle-aged white woman in a crisp airline uniform, her face contorted with indignation. Opposite her is Tamika Johnson, an elegantly dressed black woman in her mid-40s, her expression a mask of calm despite the growing hostility directed at her. As onlookers began to gather, smartphones raised to capture the unfolding drama, no one could have predicted the shocking turn of events about to unfold. This is not just another case of airport frustration or a simple misunderstanding. What transpires in the next few minutes will send ripples through the airline industry, ignite a firestorm on social media, and force America to once again confront its deep-seated issues with racial profiling and discrimination. Before we continue, tell us where you're watching in the comment section. And if you're a lover of justice and inspirational stories, don't forget to like, comment, and hit the subscribe button for more of these gripping stories. In the heart of one of the world's busiest airports, amidst the constant flow of travelers from all walks of life, a powder keg of prejudice is about to explode. The fuse has been lit, and the clock is ticking. As tensions rise and security approaches, one question hangs in the air: how will this confrontation end, and at what cost? This is the story of how a routine day at the airport transformed into a pivotal moment in the ongoing struggle for racial equality and justice in America. A tale that proves that sometimes the most powerful weapon against discrimination is not force, but dignity, composure, and an unexpected twist of fate. Thesis statement: this incident at Los Angeles International Airport serves as a stark reminder of the pervasive nature of racial bias in our society, demonstrating how quick judgments based on appearance can lead to explosive confrontations. But it also shows us that in the face of injustice, resilience and truth have the power to prevail, often in the most unexpected ways. As the tension builds and security approaches, what unseen forces are at play that could turn this confrontation on its head? Our story centers around Tamika Johnson, a remarkable 45-year-old black woman who has defied odds and shattered glass ceilings throughout her career. Born and raised in a middle-class family in Atlanta, Georgia, Tamika's journey is a testament to perseverance and excellence. Growing up, Tamika was no stranger to the subtle and not-so-subtle forms of racism that permeated society. Her parents, both educators, instilled in her a deep sense of pride in her heritage and an unwavering belief in her abilities. These early lessons would prove crucial in the years to come. "My father always told me, Tamika, you'll have to work twice as hard to get half as far. But don't you ever let that stop you," Tamika recalls in a previous interview, her voice filled with emotion. And work hard she did. Tamika's academic prowess earned her a scholarship to Spelman College, where she graduated summa cum laude with a degree in business administration. But it was her acceptance into Harvard Business School that truly set her on the path to greatness. At Harvard, Tamika distinguished herself not just through her academic achievements, but through her leadership skills and innovative thinking. Her thesis on revolutionizing airline customer service caught the attention of industry leaders, foreshadowing the impact she would later have on the field. After obtaining her MBA, Tamika made a decision that surprised many of her peers. Instead of accepting lucrative offers from Wall Street firms, she chose to start at the bottom of the airline industry, working as a flight attendant. "I wanted to understand every facet of the business," Tamika explains. "How can you lead effectively if you don't know what it's like on the front lines?" This decision proved pivotal. Over the next 2 decades, Tamika worked her way up through various positions from flight attendant to customer service representative, from operations manager to vice president of customer experience. Each role added to her comprehensive understanding of the airline industry and honed her leadership skills. Her ascent wasn't without challenges. In an industry historically dominated by white males, Tamika faced discrimination and skepticism at every turn. But her exceptional performance, innovative ideas, and ability to build strong teams spoke louder than any prejudice. 5 years ago, Tamika's hard work culminated in her appointment as the CEO of Sky-High Airlines, one of the largest carriers in the United States. Her appointment made headlines, the first black woman to lead a major U.S. airline. Under her leadership, Sky-High has seen record profits, improved customer satisfaction scores, and has been recognized for its inclusive workplace policies. Now, let's turn our attention to the other key figure in this incident, Karen Smith. Karen, a 50-year-old white woman, is a mid-level manager at Sky-High Airlines with 20 years of experience in the industry. She started her career as a ticket agent and worked her way up to her current position overseeing customer service at several gates in LAX. Known for her strict adherence to rules and procedures, Karen has a reputation for being efficient but sometimes overzealous in her approach to perceived irregularities. Colleagues describe her as by the book and uncompromising. Karen's the kind of manager who'll make sure every I is dotted and every T is crossed, says a coworker who wishes to remain anonymous. But sometimes, she can be a bit intense. What many don't know is that Karen's rigid approach stems from a deep-seated insecurity. Having worked her way up without a college degree, she often feels the need to prove herself, leading to a sometimes confrontational management style. It's a busy Thursday afternoon in January 2025 at Los Angeles International Airport. The holiday rush has subsided, but the terminal is still bustling with business travelers and families taking advantage of the post-New Year lull. Tamika Johnson arrives at the airport, but not in her usual manner. Today, she's incognito, dressed in casual clothing, jeans, a simple blouse, and a light jacket. Her hair is pulled back in a simple ponytail, and she wears minimal makeup. Gone are the power suits and the air of authority she usually carries. Today, she's here to conduct an undercover assessment of Sky-High's customer service. This secret shopper approach is part of Tamika's hands-on leadership style. She believes in experiencing the airline as customers do, without the filter of her CEO status. It's a practice that has led to numerous improvements in Sky-High's service over the years. As Tamika makes her way through the terminal, observing interactions between staff and passengers, she approaches the first-class lounge. She pauses near the entrance, making notes on her phone about the signage and the demeanor of the lounge attendants. It's at this moment that Karen Smith, doing her rounds, spots Tamika. Something about the casually dressed black woman lingering near the first-class lounge entrance sets off alarm bells in Karen's mind. Without hesitation, Karen approaches Tamika, her posture rigid and her expression stern. "Excuse me, ma'am," she says, her tone clipped and authoritative. "May I see your boarding pass and ID?" Tamika, caught off guard but maintaining her composure, replies calmly, "I'm actually not flying today. I'm waiting for a colleague." Karen's eyes narrow with suspicion. "This area is for ticketed passengers only. If you're not flying, you need to move along." "I understand," Tamika responds, her voice level. "But as I said, I'm waiting for someone. I'll only be a few more minutes." Karen's face hardens. "I'm going to need to see some identification. Now." As Tamika begins to explain again, Karen cuts her off. "You have no right to be here. This is a restricted area." And so, the stage is set for a confrontation that will soon spiral far beyond a simple misunderstanding at an airport lounge. As tensions begin to rise between Tamika and Karen, what unseen factors might be influencing their interaction? How might their personal histories and the broader context of race relations in America play into the unfolding drama? As the confrontation between Tamika Johnson and Karen Smith escalates, the bustling airport terminal becomes an unwitting stage for a drama that will soon captivate the nation. Karen's voice rises, her words sharp and accusatory. "I know what you're trying to do. You're attempting to sneak into the first-class lounge, aren't you? We've had problems with this before." Tamika, drawing on years of experience in handling difficult situations, maintains her composure. Her voice remains steady, though a hint of frustration creeps in. Ma'am, I assure you that's not the case. As I've explained, I'm waiting for a colleague. I have every right to stand here. Karen's eyes narrow, her lips pressing into a thin line. Every right? I don't think so. This area is for our premium passengers only. People who belong here. The phrase people who belong here hangs in the air, its implications clear to Tamika and the growing crowd of onlookers. It's a coded phrase, one that Tamika has heard countless times throughout her life and career, a subtle but unmistakable suggestion that she, as a black woman, doesn't fit someone's preconceived notion of a first-class passenger. Tamika takes a deep breath, centering herself. She's acutely aware of the delicate balance she must strike asserting her rights without escalating the situation. I understand you're doing your job, but your assumptions about me are incorrect and, frankly, offensive. Karen's face flushes red. Offensive? I'm offensive? You're the one who's trespassing and disrupting our operations. If you have nothing to hide, why won't you show me your ID? Tamika stands her ground. Because I'm not obligated to do so. I've broken no laws, and I've explained my situation to you multiple times. By now, the commotion has drawn the attention of several passengers waiting for their flights. Smartphones emerge from pockets and purses, their cameras trained on the unfolding scene. In the age of viral videos and instant social media outrage, the confrontation is about to be broadcast to the world. A young woman in her 20s, unable to contain herself, calls out, "Leave her alone. Can't you see you're harassing her?" This interjection only seems to fuel Karen's indignation. Stay out of this. Karen snaps at the bystander before turning back to Tamika. Her voice drips with sarcasm as she says, "Listen, I don't know what kind of game you're playing, but this isn't some discount airline where you can just wander wherever you please." The coded language continues, each phrase carrying the weight of long-standing racial stereotypes and prejudices. Tamika feels a familiar knot forming in her stomach, a mixture of anger, frustration, and sadness that she's experienced too many times before. Still, she remains poised. Years of navigating corporate boardrooms and facing down skeptical investors have prepared her for moments like these. Ma'am, I'd advise you to think very carefully about your next words and actions. You're making assumptions based on nothing but your own biases. Karen's face contorts with anger. That's it. I'm calling security. We'll see how smug you are when you're escorted out of this airport. She pulls out her phone, her fingers trembling slightly as she dials. Tamika watches calmly, her mind racing through potential scenarios and outcomes. She knows that the arrival of security could either defuse the situation or escalate it to dangerous levels. Within minutes, 2 airport security officers approach, their faces serious as they take in the scene. Karen immediately launches into her version of events. This woman is trespassing in a restricted area and refusing to show identification. I want her removed from the premises immediately. The security officers turn to Tamika, their expressions a mix of wariness and confusion. The older of the two, a man with graying hair and a weathered face, speaks first. "Ma'am, can you please explain what's going on here?" Tamika nods, her voice clear and controlled. "Certainly, officer. I'm waiting for a colleague near the lounge entrance. I'm not a ticketed passenger today, which I've explained to this employee. I've broken no laws, and I'm not obligated to show my ID simply for standing in a public area of the airport." The younger security officer interjects, "Ma'am, while that's technically true, it would be easier for everyone if you just showed some identification." Tamika turns to him, her gaze steady. "I understand you're trying to resolve this situation, officer. But I'm declining to show my ID on principle. I've done nothing wrong, and I won't submit to being treated like a criminal because of someone's unfounded suspicions." Karen, growing increasingly frustrated, interjects. "Do you hear how uncooperative she's being? This is exactly what I've been dealing with. As an airline employee, I'm telling you she needs to be removed." The older security officer holds up a hand, trying to calm the situation. Ma'am, please. We're trying to sort this out. But Karen is beyond reason now. Her voice rises, echoing through the terminal. I want her arrested. She's trespassing, being disruptive, and now she's resisting security. This is a threat to airport safety. The accusation of being a threat to airport safety sends a ripple through the crowd. In a post-9/11 world, such claims carry heavy implications, especially when directed at a person of color. Tamika feels a chill run down her spine. She's acutely aware of how quickly situations like these can spiral out of control, how implicit biases can turn a simple misunderstanding into a dangerous confrontation. Yet, she stands firm, knowing that backing down would only reinforce the prejudices at play. The security officers exchange uncertain glances. The situation has escalated beyond a simple case of loitering, but Tamika hasn't actually broken any laws. They're caught in a difficult position, pressed by an insistent airline employee, but faced with a calm, articulate woman who knows her rights. As tensions reach a boiling point, with Karen demanding action and the crowd of onlookers growing restless, the stage is set for a resolution that no one could have anticipated. With the situation teetering on the brink of potential disaster, what unforeseen element might emerge to change the course of this confrontation? How might the gathered crowd, the viral nature of the recorded incident, or perhaps an unexpected revelation impact the outcome of this charged encounter? As the situation teeters on the brink of chaos, Tamika Johnson makes a decision. With a calm that belies the tension surrounding her, she reaches into her pocket and pulls out her phone. "If you'll excuse me for a moment," she says, her voice cutting through the cacophony of angry voices and murmurs from the crowd. "I need to make a quick call." Karen scoffs, her face a mask of derision. "Oh, now you want to call someone? Go ahead, call whoever you want. It won't change anything." Tamika dials a number, her eyes never leaving Karen's face. The phone rings twice before a voice answers on the other end. "Hello, this is Tamika Johnson. I need you to come to the first-class lounge entrance immediately. We have a situation that requires your attention." The person on the other end responds, though their words are inaudible to the crowd. Tamika nods. "Yes, that's correct. Thank you." She ends the call and turns to address the security officers. "Gentlemen, I apologize for the inconvenience. This will all be cleared up in a moment." Karen, her face flushed with anger, interjects. "What kind of game are you playing? Who did you just call?" Before Tamika can respond, a commotion erupts at the edge of the gathered crowd. People begin to part, making way for a group of individuals moving swiftly towards the center of the confrontation. At the forefront is a distinguished-looking man in his early 60s, flanked by several other well-dressed individuals. As they approach, the man's eyes widen in recognition and concern. "Tamika? What on earth is going on here?" he asks, his voice carrying the weight of authority. Karen's head snaps towards the newcomer, her expression shifting from anger to confusion. "Mr. Daniels? What are you doing here?" The man, now identified as Mr. Daniels, turns to Karen with a stern expression. "I received a call about a disturbance involving our CEO. Would you care to explain what's happening?" A hush falls over the crowd as the words "our CEO" hang in the air. Karen's face drains of color as the realization begins to dawn on her. Tamika steps forward, her posture straightening as she addresses Mr. Daniels. "Robert, I'm glad you're here. I was conducting an undercover assessment of our customer service when I was accosted by this employee. She accused me of trespassing and attempting to sneak into the first-class lounge." Mr. Daniels, the chief operations officer of Sky High Airlines, turns to Karen with a look of disbelief. "Is this true, Ms. Smith?" Karen stammers, her earlier bravado evaporating in an instant. I didn't know. She wouldn't show ID. I thought." Tamika interjects, her voice firm but not unkind. "What you thought, Ms. Smith, was that a black woman couldn't possibly belong in the first-class area of this airport. You made assumptions based on my appearance, and when I refused to submit to your baseless demands, you escalated the situation to a dangerous level. The crowd, which had been murmuring in shock, falls silent again. The gravity of what has transpired is sinking in for everyone present. Mr. Daniels turns to the security officers, who look equally stunned. Gentlemen, I apologize for this unfortunate incident. Ms. Johnson is indeed the CEO of Sky High Airlines. I hope we can count on your discretion as we handle this internal matter. The older security officer nods, clearly embarrassed. Of course, sir. We apologize for any inconvenience. Karen stands frozen, her face a mixture of disbelief and horror as the full implications of her actions begin to sink in. Mr. Daniels turns to her, his expression grave. Ms. Smith, you are suspended effective immediately, pending a full investigation into this incident. Please surrender your employee ID and report to HR first thing tomorrow morning. As Karen fumbles to remove her ID badge, Tamika raises a hand. If I may, Robert, I'd like to address this situation directly. Mr. Daniels nods, stepping back to allow Tamika the floor. She turns to face the gathered crowd, which has grown considerably since the confrontation began. Ladies and gentlemen, Tamika begins, her voice clear and strong. What you've witnessed today is, unfortunately, not an isolated incident. It's a manifestation of a deeper, more pervasive issue that plagues not just our airline, but our society as a whole. She pauses, allowing her words to sink in before continuing. Racial profiling and bias, whether conscious or unconscious, have no place in our company or in any aspect of our lives. Today, I was fortunate enough to be in a position where I could challenge this injustice. But I can't help but think of all those who face similar discrimination every day without the power to defend themselves. The crowd listens in rapt attention as Tamika continues. This incident will serve as a catalyst for change. Starting today, Sky High Airlines will be implementing comprehensive anti-bias training for all our staff, from the boardroom to the tarmac. We will also be reviewing and overhauling our customer service policies to ensure that every passenger is treated with dignity and respect, regardless of their appearance or background. She turns to Karen, who stands with her head bowed. As for you, Ms. Smith, I hope this serves as a wake-up call. Your actions today were not just hurtful to me, but they go against everything our company stands for. I encourage you to reflect deeply on your biases and how they impact your interactions with others. Addressing the security officers, Tamika adds, I also want to acknowledge the role that institutional biases play in situations like these. I appreciate that you were doing your job, but I hope this incident prompts a review of your own protocols and training procedures. The older security officer steps forward, his face solemn. Ms. Johnson, on behalf of the airport security team, I offer our sincerest apologies. You're absolutely right, and we will be taking immediate steps to address these issues in our training and procedures. As Tamika concludes her impromptu speech, the sound of applause breaks out among the onlookers. Many have their phones out, having recorded the entire encounter and its resolution. Within hours, videos of the incident go viral on social media platforms. Hashtags like #FlyingWhileBlack and #SkyHighCEO trend globally, sparking intense discussions about racial profiling, corporate responsibility, and the pervasive nature of bias in everyday interactions. News outlets pick up the story, running headlines like Airline CEO faces racial profiling at her own company and Sky High incident highlights ongoing struggle with racial bias in corporate America. In the days that follow, Tamika Johnson becomes the face of a renewed conversation about racial justice in the business world. She appears on national news programs, penning op-eds and giving interviews about her experience and the changes she plans to implement at Sky High Airlines. True to her word, Tamika oversees the rapid development and implementation of a comprehensive anti-bias training program for all Sky High employees. The program, developed in consultation with leading experts in diversity and inclusion, becomes a model for other companies in the industry and beyond. Sky High also announces a partnership with civil rights organizations to create a scholarship program for underrepresented minorities interested in careers in aviation and aerospace. As for Karen Smith, the company's investigation confirms the severity of her actions. Despite her long tenure with the airline, she is ultimately terminated for violation of company policies and for conduct unbecoming of a Sky High employee. The incident serves as a wake-up call not just for Sky High, but for the entire airline industry. Other major carriers begin to review and revamp their own diversity and inclusion policies, recognizing the potential for similar incidents and the need for proactive measures. In the months that follow, Tamika Johnson is invited to speak at industry conferences and corporate events, sharing her experience and insights on creating more inclusive workplace cultures. Her leadership in the face of adversity is lauded, and Sky High sees an increase in customer loyalty from those who appreciate the company's commitment to social justice. The incident at LAX becomes a case study in business schools, discussed in courses on leadership, crisis management, and corporate social responsibility. It serves as a powerful reminder of the ongoing challenges faced by people of color, even those in positions of power, and the importance of continual vigilance against bias and discrimination. As this incident catalyzes change not just within Sky High Airlines but across the industry and beyond, what long-term impacts might we see on corporate culture, public awareness, and the broader movement for racial justice in America? How might this single event contribute to shifting societal norms and expectations regarding diversity and inclusion in the workplace? Closing, 10 minutes. Narrator's voice returns, reflective and thoughtful. As the dust settles on this remarkable incident at Los Angeles International Airport, we're left to ponder its far-reaching implications and the lessons we can all take away. The confrontation between Tamika Johnson and Karen Smith serves as a stark reminder that racial bias and discrimination continue to permeate our society, even in the most unexpected places. It highlights the daily challenges faced by people of color, regardless of their status or position. But more importantly, this incident shows us the power of resilience, dignity, and strategic action in the face of injustice. ## call to action. To you, our viewers, we present a challenge. 1. Examine your own biases. We all have unconscious biases shaped by our experiences and societal influences. Take time to reflect on your own preconceptions and how they might affect your interactions with others. Consider taking an implicit association test or participating in bias awareness workshops. 2. Speak up against discrimination. If you witness racial profiling or discrimination, don't be a silent bystander. Safely intervene or report the incident to the appropriate authorities. Your voice matters in creating a more just society. 3. Educate yourself and others. Commit to ongoing learning about racial issues and social justice. Read books, watch documentaries, and engage in meaningful conversations with people from diverse backgrounds. Share your knowledge with friends, family, and colleagues. 4. Support inclusive policies. Advocate for anti-bias training and inclusive policies in your workplace, schools, and community organizations. Every institution has a role to play in dismantling systemic racism. 5. Amplify marginalized voices. Use your platforms, whether social media or community groups, to elevate the voices and experiences of people of color. Share stories like Tamika's to raise awareness and promote understanding. ## final thoughts. The incident at LAX demonstrates how positions of power can be leveraged to create positive change. Tamika Johnson's response to discrimination wasn't just about defending herself, it was about seizing an opportunity to educate, reform, and set a new standard for an entire industry. This story reminds us that change often begins with a single, courageous act. Tamika's decision to stand her ground, to calmly assert her rights, and then to transform a personal affront into a catalyst for institutional change is a powerful example of leadership in action. As we conclude, let's remember that the fight against racial discrimination is not a spectator sport. It requires active participation from all of us. Every interaction, every decision, every policy is an opportunity to challenge bias and promote equality. The skies of justice and equality may sometimes seem distant, but with each step we take, with each bias we confront, we move closer to a world where everyone can truly soar, unencumbered by the weight of prejudice. Camera pans out to show a diverse group of airline staff and passengers moving through the airport. In the end, the true measure of progress will not be in the policies written or the training sessions held, but in the daily interactions between people of all backgrounds. It will be in the moments when assumptions are challenged, when understanding replaces fear, and when we recognize the humanity in each other, regardless of the color of our skin or the position we hold. As you leave this video, we urge you to carry these lessons with you. Look around your own airport, your workplace, your community, your social circles. Where can you be the catalyst for change? How can you use your voice, your position, your privilege to create a more just and equitable world? The journey towards true equality is long, but with each step, with each voice raised against injustice, we move closer to our destination. And just like in air travel, it's not just about the destination, it's about how we conduct ourselves on the journey. Thank you for watching. Remember, in the fight against racial discrimination, we are all crew members, not passengers. Let's work together to ensure a smoother flight towards justice and equality for all. If you want this story and want more of it, don't forget to like, comment, share, and subscribe for more.